Up and Friends, where those of us from the video game and comic book store, Level Up Entertainment, get together each week with some friends. This week we're going to be looking at the Jurassic Park franchise. I'm your host, Scott. Joining me this week, I've got Harry.
Hey guys.
And then there's this very special guest. We teased this when she was on last year, that if we were doing a Jurassic Park episode, I was going to have her back. But I've got K.Lynn Smith with us as well.
Hello.
Now, K.Lynn, you have a kind of a special reason to also want to be on a podcast. You just launched yet another Kickstarter. Can you tell us a little bit about what this one's about?
Yeah, so it is for my series For Goodness Sake, and it is the third and final volume of the series. So the whole story is wrapped. You get the whole series there. I'm a week in, and it's going very well. I can't complain. Hopefully it keeps going well.
Yeah. Well, now that you're going to be promoting on this podcast, it can only be better.
Right, exactly. I mean,
and obviously I'll put the link to that in the description here. But you were on last year to promote, oh my God, last summer to promote the volume 2. So I'm really excited to see how it wraps up. It's been quite a journey with these characters. And I was saying off camera, you kind of only really get this with indie creators, but I like when stories kind of have like a beginning, middle, and end. Like something can wrap up and you're like, oh, it's satisfying, a conclusion. Unlike Spider-Man, who's just going to swing around for the next 500 years.
But he'll never die. Never die. Yeah. Until he dies, But.
Yeah. But well, thank you for joining us again. I'll put the link in the description. We might touch back on that at the end of the episode here. But let's not keep the people waiting. They've already waited 65 million years. So let's talk about Jurassic Park and some dinosaurs. So the first movie came out in 93. I was 7. I didn't know about the book. So my first experience for it was just the poster in the theater. And it's kind of like the Batman thing where it's just a logo on like a black poster, and like imagination goes crazy. I was like, oh my gosh. I don't know about you guys. I feel like we might have a similar experience because we're all of a certain age. But like, I feel like I was the perfect age to watch Jurassic Park, where I was old enough to understand how the movie was made, but young enough to still be like completely swept in and blown away. I don't know what your guys' experience was with the first movie when it came out.
Yeah, 1,000%. I was 8. Yes, math.
Yeah, I was going to be 8 that December, so my years are always annoying.
Oh wait, yeah. So I'd be 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the month, but yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I took a deep dive. I mean, years later, I took a deep dive into the behind the scenes, and I think that's when I really started appreciating it as what it was. It's fantastic movie. It stands up. It'll always stand up.
It still looks good today. I mean, it's hard to believe that it was early 90s. And for me, I think I'm a little younger than you guys, so I was probably a little too young to see it in theaters. But I do remember sort of, the lull in between the first movie and the second movie, and just like the dinosaur mania that everybody was going through at the time. It was, it made dinosaurs cool again. Not that they ever weren't cool, but they became a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was at the time was the highest grossing movie of all time. I don't think it was overtaken until one of the Avengers movies, wasn't it?
Maybe Titanic.
It was Titanic. I'm thinking Jurassic World overtook Avengers, because I remember there was a picture of like the T-Rex and the Avengers characters that was tweeted out a couple years ago. But yes, Titanic did overtake it. I forgot. Well, one disaster to another. But yeah, like one of the things I really love about the first movie is it brought a lot of the modern paleontological science to the mainstream, to people, like where dinosaurs were fast, moving, warm-blooded, like their posture was much more bird-like, much more horizontal rather than like being upright and dragging your tails. And I don't know, I guess this might also just be the age, but I was sort of rewatching parts of the movie today, just watching like online discussions and stuff about it, but like this is like the scariest movie I think I had ever seen. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. Like just the opening scene where like with the raptor and you don't know what it is, and like makes out one of those like horrible screams. I'm like, oh my God, like it was so off-putting. And then you don't see dinosaurs for like 20 more minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But because that first scene's so intense, it like carries you through.
Yeah, yeah, just the soundtrack. You know, when the movie starts, that music, like, oh, that I'll put music on when I'm working, and it'll be soundtracks, and Jurassic Park will pop in, and it's just, I love the music so much. It just brings me back. It's such a weird movie to be like nostalgic over, but yeah, dinosaurs, man.
And you could see like the Steven Spielberg Jaws influence there too, like you were saying, Scott, where like don't show the monster until, you know, the second act, the third act. You can see that here, and how effective that is.
I'll be honest with you, I think this might be the most Spielbergian movie of like his entire repertoire. There's so many like little shots and like effects and ideas. Like he has that like Spielberg whimsy. Like this movie's really kind of scary and intense, but like, you know, they slow things down. Like, oh, we can pet the brachiosaurs. Oh, it sneezed on the girl. That's funny. But like there's so many like pushing shots, like low, like I'm thinking of the low angle shot of Alan Grant after they're watching the Mr. DNA movie. Like he's just kind of sitting there, and it kind of like there's the light behind, like he's backlit, and it kind of comes down from under him. There's so many little things like that where I'm like, that's like the most Spielberg looking thing I've ever seen. I wonder if just because, like, you know, comparing it to Jaws, a budget and then how much creator influence, like control you have versus studio at that point, because you know that's what, like 77 to 93. No, Jaws is earliest. Jaws is 75. So you know, almost 20 years. You know. And like, you know, obviously the studios aren't going to say no to what Steven Spielberg wants to do, especially after this movie.
Right. And it's funny to go back and watch the first one. What you were saying before about like that they were descendant from birds, like that was sort of like a revolutionary idea at that time, and now it's sort of just accepted, you know, in the mainstream. But you see that scene with the little kid where he's like, "That's just a big turkey," you know, and it's just great to go back and be like, "Oh yeah, that wasn't, you know, just an accepted thing."
Yeah.
Even then.
But like, to be fair, like that was more for the general public, because I think in the 60s when they discovered Deinonychus is when like it's called the dinosaur revolution, or renaissance rather, happened, and like that's where a lot of this like fast-blooded, like the bird connections and stuff started coming to light. And a lot of like older material was starting to get re-examined, but that's all in like dusty old, like stuffy old, like academic papers that no one was interested in at the time, like as far as the general public's concerned. Like I said, it's cool for popularizing that. And then I guess I have a bit of that leads me into my biggest probably controversial opinion about Jurassic Park. I kind of want a reboot, like remake, that does the modern thing where like now the dromaeosaurs have feathers and things, and they don't have wrists.
I thought you were gonna say the CG movement. I was gonna smack you through the screen. But yeah.
Like that's something I would want. Like maybe not a movie, like maybe because there's so much material from the book that's different. Like you can maybe do like an HBO like mini series, like make it more of like a horror thing, and you can kind of dig into it a little bit more. No dinosaur pun intended with digging into it, but like.
Yeah, the raptors, aren't they the size of compies? Like, aren't?
Yeah, they're like little chicken-sized things.
Yeah, so yeah, they'd be changing a lot.
But that's one of the things they can play with in it, because in the book they mention like the people that are making the dinosaurs like don't know anything about them, which is one of the big problems. One of the big reasons they have so many problems with them is they don't know how to care for them or what they're going to do. But like John Woo character, or the Dr. Woo character, is just like and we don't really know what they are till they hatch, and like there's like, you know, they have the raptors and like we think it's Velociraptor mongoliensis, but like it's really like more the size of like Utah raptor, something that's big. Or it should be small. So yeah, I know that's one of the things in books, and one of the things I like in the book is like Grant kind of has to he figures out, because of the gaps and stuff in the DNA that they're replacing with like other animals. He figures out that the T-Rex like can't see unless there's movement, because he watches it like while during the attack, and like it's trying to scare them out of like their cars. Like one of the kids I think is like knocked unconscious, so it's not, and he knows that someone's there, but it can't find him. I like that more than just, oh, we just made up this thing about the T-Rex and he just knows it, even though it's very clearly got binocular vision with the two eyes in the front. I don't know. I just think there's different ways to approach the material that I think I would appreciate seeing. I don't know about you guys. Like I said, that's a controversial opinion. Nobody likes remakes.
Well, it's just funny to see, using the book as the source, what they did decide to pick from for this movie versus saving it for the sequel, and things like that. It's entire characters have changed. The fate of characters have changed. I mean, John Hammond in the book is not the kindly old, naive man that he seems to be.
He's a straight up villain in the book. He's
right.
Like a shyster.
Right.
Huck's like he's like a snake oil salesman.
Yes. So you could really do a reboot if it's faithful to the book, and even though it says Jurassic Park, it could be very different from the film.
The one big complaint I have about the book is it's like Michael Crichton's got like endless monologuing in it about like the hubris of science.
I was gonna say there was a chunk of the book that I was like, wow, okay, we need this.
Yeah, it's all Ian Malcolm. Like he feels like a self-insert character.
Yeah.
All of his best parts are distilled and put into the movie, and like those parts are still really good. Like they didn't stop to think if they just because they could, they didn't stop to think if they should, stuff like that. But like he just goes on, and I'm like, I get it, man. I get it.
You're smart. We get it.
Yeah.
You did research.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're written by the guy that wrote the book and knows it's going to go bad. But yeah, like one of the things, well, you mentioned things they cut out, and I know you're a Universal Studios guy, Harry. Like they cut out the river escape scene and they turned that into a theme park ride.
Yeah, the concept art for the ride is in the movie when they're in the boardroom scene, when they're talking about, we're going to make so much money off this place, and they have like projector images in the background. It's actually some of the concept art from the ride, which is kind of cool. Yeah,
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know some of that stuff in that scene, like they talk about like Jurassic Golf and stuff. In Jurassic World, if you pay attention to like the other like attractions and stuff, I think they have it on the TV in the background in like the hotel room. You can see like, oh, this is like some of that stuff's been realized now that the park's a real park.
Mm-hmm. See, that's some of my favorite parts. I think it's being the theme park fan, but like some of my favorite parts of Jurassic Park and to an extent Jurassic World is seeing the park open and in action and how it would have worked. I think that that's just really cool to me.
That's the best part of Jurassic World. And like, I remember even at the time watching, I was like, man, I wish that we got more of that than just, oh, now we got to chase dinosaurs in the woods again, like it always is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would, if I remember watching Jurassic World and be like, and when the kid's hugging the baby brachiosaur, I was like, I wish this place was real and I could go there so bad. I assume, like most of you and probably most people, we grew up being a huge dinosaur nerd as a kid. I never really outgrew it.
Yeah, that movie not only made me love dinosaurs, but also made me love special effects and the creative ways that they did things. Like I remember seeing the behind the scenes footage and photos of that guy wearing the big T-Rex feet. And he's just a small man standing in these giant columns of, lizard feet, essentially, bird feet. And it's just like, wow, it's just insane. It's insane. And the way that they had to stop the T-Rex for every 5 minutes of filming or something like that. Yeah, because down dry because he was starting to.
Yeah, he was getting too heavy because the latex was absorbing the water and he would jitter. Yeah, which apparently he was really scary to work with because
yeah.
You didn't know when he was going to stop working, and that thing is life size, and which just blows my mind that they spent the money to make that.
Well, and then they sent it down onto the glass.
Yeah,
and it wasn't supposed to break the way it did.
Yeah, I know, and those kids' reactions are real because a giant monster is literally about to crush them.
Yeah. Insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know we said in our podcast the last time. That I planted my flag and said the T-Rex escape scene is the best monster movie in theaters, or in movies. Yeah. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that statement, Harry.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just the fact that they went practical for so much of those effects, we would never see that anymore. A studio would never sign off on that. It would be too much money. Let's just put it in a computer. And, visual effects as good as they are today, it's just not the same. And you can see the difference.
Yeah. And I think one of the key parts of that scene specifically is there's parts where there's even in the same shots where I'm thinking of the part where you see you're in Grant and Malcolm's car, and you see behind them there's the puppet T-Rex head. It comes out of frame, and then it, as a CG character, then it starts walking towards the other car.
Mhm.
And like it's just something because they're working the two effects are working together. You see the real thing, you know it's there, you know it's real. Your brain just keeps moving along with it, and it's just like, wow, it's so like it's like the magic of movies. Not to be too corny, and then you can compare it to something that happened like years later with Godzilla, and like it doesn't look like anything's touching the character, and
It never feels like it's actually there.
It's
or
always a
physical
different
presence.
scale, like it's constantly shifting. Like it just looks bad, and that came like it should have learned learned lessons from this movie.
Yeah.
And not to bring it back to Jaws, but I think like that's why something like Jaws still holds up, even though that shark looked terrible when they like finally took it out of the water. It's just the physical thing, the physical presence of something being there for the actors to work off of. It makes all the difference in the world versus watching the newer Jurassic Park movies today and just like, oh, that's just a computer. It's just digitally inserted.
Yeah. Yeah, poor Bruce. Don't body shame him.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I apologize to Bruce.
Yeah. Listen, I know they were cursing Bruce's name on that set.
That's the thing. It's like it's funny. It's the same kind of story where like it never worked.
Yeah, right. I remember. I think I read like it's like I think there's only dinosaurs in this movie, like the first movie, for like 6 minutes, or maybe it's just CGI, something really incredibly small, and like, but it's used in such a way that it's so effective.
The other thing I really liked about this first movie is they took the time out. Yes, it does like run into the running away from monsters. It does kind of, turn into a threat. The dinosaurs do turn into a threat, but they take the time to try to teach you about the dinosaurs and what makes them different and, what's going on. Like I think about the scene where Grant and the kids are in the open field, and the Gallimimus are about to change direction. And, he's trying to teach the kids, even though they're like in a moment where they may get stomped on, he's trying to teach the kids about how they work as a pack and how that all works. And there's little moments like that, the Grant and the kids in the tree too, where they're feeding the Brachiosaurus, where it's like, these are great moments just to teach people about dinosaurs. And we don't get that anymore. We don't really get it in the sequels. Just a chance for the audience to take their breath and learn something.
Yeah, it shows that they're not just like mindless monsters, they're animals. And I appreciate that too. Also, I mean, I guess this is like it's era versus now, but like it's not like constant breakneck pace. Like we're able to slow down with the Brachiosaur scene and like it's kind of take in the world a little bit and like, wow, this would be really cool if this was real and not just like, oh my god, there's a T-Rex is chasing me for like. That's one of the things I don't like about the book is like the T-Rex is like a psychopath and like only wants to kill them even when it's like eating like it's got whole other like dinosaurs that are dead around it. It's just like, oh, we woke up and I'm going to chase you down the river now. It seems like so much more work than is what's necessary.
Yeah. To go off the whole teaching aspect too, like one of the scene, the beginning scene where he's, Grant's talking about the raptor claw and you're being eaten before you're even hitting the ground, like that scene. Yeah. Ooh, it sets up the whole story so well and the tension so well. And I just remember that kitchen scene with the two raptors coming in after the kids.
Yeah. It's like the most tense scene, especially because it was like the kids too,
Yes. And just them like trying to sneak through. It's not them running like fast paced. It's that quiet, tense moment. Oh, and this you see the raptors working together too. So
communicating with each other.
Ooh, they're smart. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know about you guys, but like my like brother instincts were like kicking in like crazy in that scene because it's siblings. So I'm like, oh my god, what would I do with my brother there? And like,
and like what a good job that first movie does to make you care about those characters. I mean, how many Godzilla movies and things do you see and you're like, oh god, I don't want to see the humans, I just want to see the monsters or the creatures, but like you care about those kids in that kitchen scene.
Yeah, I don't think there's a monster movie where I legitimately care about any of the humans.
Right?
I guess you could argue in King Kong, but like the coolest, Godzilla movie with the human characters is Final Wars, but like you like it and like that it's nonstop like schlock. When they're not fighting monsters, they're like kung fu fighting like space aliens and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't actually care about those characters. I can't tell you their names. There's a guy that looks like Sergeant Slaughter. That's all I remember.
But it's because the movie takes the time in the beginning to set them up and give them backgrounds and give them wants and needs. And, that same conversation with Grant and the little kid, it's like, that's also telling you that Grant has this phobia about little kids. And, Ellie kind of makes fun of him about it later. So it's just great in that regard that it builds up its human characters and makes you care about them.
Yeah, for sure.
I believe Michael Crichton at least wrote one of the drafts of the script, if he didn't write the whole thing. So that probably helps that you literally have the authorial stamp of the author that it's based on. Obviously, they changed a lot of those characters. Like in the book, Grant loves kids because kids love dinosaurs. So like that's obviously something they changed up for that. They changed the ages of the kids. Really, in the book, Lex is super useless. She's like 4.
Yeah.
But I know Spielberg cast her actress because she had the best scream. So like, well, whatever. So they split up some of the kid qualities between the two of them, and I think makes it a stronger thing. So they both have something they can contribute. Tim with his like dinosaur nerdiness, and then she's got the computer whiz stuff.
He's a hacker.
Yeah, that it's not the 90s without mentioning him being a hacker. But other than some stuff like that and like Newman being there, I think it's fairly timeless.
Yeah.
Like other than some like the old computer monitors and stuff, but like once get to that part though, I don't know. I feel like again, maybe I just can't be objective, but like I feel like because there's so much like weird like futuristic science around that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, like it kind of doesn't bother me. Is it like it doesn't stick out, It's not like someone's like flipping out like a flip phone, and I gotta send an SMS text or something. It's got a weird timeless quality to it that like it doesn't feel like the 90s in it. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely not. And there's a lot of things. There's things that are wrong with the film. Not to we're not like comparing it to the book or anything like that. But
there's so many. Yeah, the egg hand thing like disappears in between shots. Yeah.
The T-Rex steps off his enclosure to mess with the cars, and then suddenly the car is pushed over a cliff where the T-Rex just stepped off of.
Yeah.
Makes absolutely no sense, but you don't care. You truly don't care.
It's just so exciting at the moment. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they make so many weird decisions like that. When they're moving the raptor in the beginning, it's like the worst way to do it in the world. Why wasn't it already tranked? We already have zoo things for like transporting big dangerous animals. They're not doing anything remotely related to that. Yeah, and again, using real world zoos, like why isn't the T-Rex below ground level? Again, we have that stuff with dangerous animals now. Granted, nowhere near as big as dinosaurs. But I know that's a point they make in the books where like they don't really know what they're doing with these animals because nobody knows what they like eat and nobody knows like how long they live.
By all means, open a park.
Yeah, and bring tourists.
Yeah.
Yeah, because again, the book it's really a big scam. But they do mention in the book like, hey, listen, we don't have to make them dangerous. We can make them slow and dumb. We control their DNA. We can do whatever we want. Again, because the book's about a lot of hubris. So I don't know. Granted, cloning a dinosaur's got to be hard enough to begin with because it's not possible in real life. But I don't know.
I don't know. Give him the chance.
Yeah.
He's getting closer.
All right. So would you guys go to a Jurassic Park, even knowing that there's a chance that a tropical storm can roll through, knock out the power, and we have to like run for your lives? Would you try? Like, would you sign that waiver? I can't say I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I think I would have to just to be a part of it, to see it with my own eyes, to see living, breathing dinosaurs. Yeah, I think I would have to.
I would. I wouldn't be the first.
Yeah.
I would wait, so the kinks worked out. But yeah, I think my initial response was hell no, because I saw the movie.
Yeah.
It depends. It truly does. Yeah, I would wait it out a little bit, give it a couple years.
I know in the wake of this movie in the 90s, like Harry, you might remember this place. But remember there was a place, I can't remember what the park was called, but in Wildwood on the boardwalk, they had like a dinosaur themed theme park after this.
I don't remember the name of it.
I used to try to go to it like every summer as much as we could. Cause it's only like about an hour or so from where we live.
Mm-hmm.
But I just remember like that alone was cool enough that like they had like a minecart ride where it's like animatronic dinosaurs like escaped, and like it was sort of a little bit like it was like a dry version of the Jurassic Park ride because there was a big T-Rex at the end of it. But I remember like just that stuff alone was like enough to get me like I got to go there all the time. I can only imagine if it was real,
Yeah.
But
yeah, it'd be a little more scary,
Potentially, yes. What do you guys think of the sequels?
So I think they gradually lose their luster as they try to repeat the formula. Like I said before, I think they gave up on trying to teach people things about dinosaurs or push. I mean, to their credit, I think the second and the third one did try to push like a new dinosaur or a new feature about a dinosaur, but in the end, it just kind of devolves into a monster movie. Run away from the monster. The monster decides to kill everybody, and that's just not as interesting to me as the first one.
I agree. I think the quieter moments and the humor and the charm is lost a little bit. I think, yeah, it's just what kind of dinosaur can we mix in there? Like bigger baddie, bigger scene. Like it was just kind of like, I gotta top this, next one, gotta top this next one. Like it was just, yeah, it was a monster movie.
I mean, the second one's got 2 T-Rexes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like The Lost World. I like the book a lot more. I like the book. I think I like the Lost World book more than the first book. Because it loses a lot, even though Malcolm's the main character, even though he died in the first one. He is a lot less. There's a lot less of that endless monologuing. It's like kind of a more fun adventure type story. I kind of like the adventure elements in the movie. It's controversial, but like I love the San Diego ending. T-Rex rampaging around. It's at least
Godzilla light.
At least it's visually different from all of the other movies. Or the first 5 movies. Now they're obviously off the mainland, but we haven't gotten that one as of the time there's recording.
Right.
But like I don't know. I thought
it makes sense for the story too. I mean, why ship people all the way down there if you can just bring the experience here? I mean, it makes sense in that narrative world.
I mean, the reasons that they didn't is because if something went bad, like they wouldn't contaminate the ecosystem. But the first book starts with like compies and raptors are already off the island.
Yeah, they already broke containment. But no, there's a couple of scenes in The Lost World that I remember, vividly. And the first one is that when they took those trailers and they started getting bashed off the cliff and they were hanging and trying to like climb and keep hold of it. I think that scene was amazing. Like I just love that scene.
One of my favorite scenes too. It's also just almost verbatim from the book. It's one of the best scenes in the book too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The third page was in the book too from that movie as well.
Yeah. They also were like the book had more interesting raptor stuff. It also had like Carnotaurus that was basically like half chameleon because it was like changing color and like stalking in the middle of the night, which was pretty exciting. I said there's a lot of I think the book's worth checking out if anyone hasn't read it. I know it was kind of written as like a slap job. They were like, hey, Michael Crichton, there's money to be made. Write a book so we can write a movie. So I know the reason they brought Malcolm back is just because like, hey, we can get Jeff Goldblum to come back. So
yeah,
even though you killed him in the first book, he's back. He just has a limp now.
Yeah. And another scene that I'm thinking about is the scene where they're running away from, or they're actually just like moving camp in the middle of the night, and the raptors are following them, but you don't see the raptors. You just see trails in the overgrowth,
grass,
and then you just see the tails, and it's like that scared me, as a kid watching that, because
it's what you
horrifying.
Don't see that's scarier. Yeah, the Jaws thing, and that's also a much cheaper effect. You can just have a tail on a stick and wiggle it around.
Keep it around.
Yeah. But it's like once they started like just showing the dinosaurs all the time, you lose that effect.
The tent scene too got me when the ladies are sleeping and the
T-Rex's head's there.
Yeah, it comes in, and just the absolute terror. I can't remember the actress's the daughter, the terror on her face. Oh, when that massive thing's coming in, like, ooh, that's true terror. Like,
I wonder if they knew the stories about how it could just fall apart and just crush them.
Yeah. Ooh.
Where do you guys think those big animatronics went? Like, where do you store that?
Well, they weren't built to last.
Yeah. I'm sure that they all deteriorated, but like they still have their robotic skeleton.
Yeah.
Like, all that stuff. Like, I know most of Stan Winston's stuff like went to like his studio. Like, you can go there and like see Terminators and things.
Yeah. It probably got repurposed for things.
I guess it's just for storage reasons, because there's like the T-Rex one's so big, you probably just break it apart.
Yeah.
Immediately. That's sad. That would have been really cool to see in a museum, like a movie museum somewhere. Granted, you can go to a real museum and see real T-Rex skeletons, but
who wants to see that? I mean, want to see the robot.
I want to see the one that was on the one that's famous.
Yeah, they have tried to do traveling shows with dinosaur animatronics, which are kind of neat, but it's not the same, like you said, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Jurassic Park live. It's pretty cool. Like, but like mostly dudes in costumes and stuff. But it's neat. Or maybe it was Walking with Dinosaurs one, but it's like the same kind of costumes they use, where like, they have like a big T-Rex, but like on wheels, so it doesn't actually like walk around, on its own. But I don't know, like that. Yeah, I guess I would go to a real Jurassic Park just because seeing that alone is like really cool. It's like, wow, it's so big.
Yeah. You squint and you're like, all right, I'm really there.
Yeah.
On a really big screen.
But yeah, well, like the Spinosaurus in 3 is another example. Like, I think it's way more fascinating what we know about it in real life now, where like it's this mostly semi-aquatic creature. I'm like, man, that would be really cool in like a new scene where instead of maybe the T-Rex doing the river scene, it's like, oh, this giant, even bigger, like sea monster essentially is kind of coming at you. And I know they sort of tease that a little bit in 3, when like at the end, they're fighting it in the river. But
that phone ring is ruined for me.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's Jurassic Park.
Yeah. I mean, that movie just kind of doesn't pretend to not be a dumb monster movie, and it's 90 minutes, so you're kind of in and out. So I think it's not super offensive, it's nowhere near as good as the other Jurassic Park movies, but like we're saying, keep getting diminishing returns.
Yeah. I'm glad that's not the last we're going to see of Alan Grant. I hope that he's used effectively in whatever we get next, but I'm glad that that's not the last chapter of Grant.
Yeah. I remember a lot of people really upset that like him and Ellie didn't get together. I'm like,
it's kind of realistic.
Yeah, it didn't bother me. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of convenient that she's married to a guy that can send the entire military to save them, like within hours. In a foreign country.
They probably have it's a code Jurassic at this point. Like they're just ready to go. They know what's going on.
Yeah. What do you guys think of World and like the new direction they're going? Because I loved Jurassic World when it first came out, but like in retrospect, I kind of like it's lost a lot of its luster for me.
I mean, it was fine. It was another monster movie. I don't know. I love. That's Blue, right? That's the one. Yeah,
Blue's the one that survives. Yeah.
Yeah. I did like that aspect, the raptors.
I mean, I saw that first trailer and I'm like, oh, okay, it makes some sense that they might do like some behavioral mild training. Like you can do that with wolves and stuff in real life. But then at the end, when like Chris Pratt's on a motorcycle and he's running raptors, I was like, sold. in like a dumb schlocky way. I'm like, that's the kind of thing I want to see in a movie. I'm like, oh man, him teaming up to fight a big movie monster. I'm like, all right. Like, I don't really look at it even as like a Jurassic Park movie at that point, because like I don't really care about showing them as animals. Because then at the end, like a Velociraptor and a T-Rex are like double teaming this like horrible movie monster. I'm like, oh yeah, this is awesome.
And it's funny because like it's so meta, right? Because it's like, oh, you know, kids, they don't want to just see dinosaurs, they want to see more teeth and, you know, all these abilities and things like that. And they're trying to make, I think, a statement on, you know, the Hollywood blockbusters
at
the
time.
like,
and dinosaurs aren't special anymore.
And I like Chris Pratt's like reactions, like, how it's a dinosaur, how much cooler does it need to be, you know? But it kind of falls under that same weight, though, the movie itself, because it falls into just being a big CGI schlock fest with more teeth and big battles. And, you know, and in this case, like, I didn't care about those kids. Like,
like, who cares? I forgot there was kids.
I was literally going to say that.
No, they're awful. Like they're terrible to their babysitter. They like lose her, and then she gets like this really violent, like Jurassic Park death that's usually reserved for like a villain, where she's like ripped apart.
It's really undeserved and over the top. Like five animals get their shot at killing her at once. Yeah.
It annoyed me that she never took her shoes off. The whole thing. It was running in heels. Girl, just kick them off. But yeah, I've only seen that one once, and I saw it in the theaters, and I thought it was a good popcorn movie. Yeah. However, I was a big fan of Chris Pratt. Love myself some Parks and Rec. I mean,
you're in good company.
Yes. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm here for it. But yeah, it was just, it didn't have that charm that the first one had.
Yeah, they were just two-dimensional movie characters. Uptight businesswoman, smarmy, Han Solo-ish kind of man, action man.
Yeah.
And then there's like evil scientist and like military guy. And it's just like, oh, all right. I mean, for that story, I don't really care. But I would have been an interesting angle if they played more of the theme park stuff. Like maybe they do something from Jurassic Park, the game, where like they have to escape like some smaller dinosaurs on a roller coaster, you know, like they could do something fun.
That was my favorite elements of World is seeing the park in action, in operation. And, you know, narratively, it made sense. Like some business saw that there's money to be made here, and they were like, yeah, we can do this. We can do this better. And it blows up in their face too. But, you know, a lot of people were saying like, oh, how unrealistic. You know, nobody would be that stupid to open a theme park, and nobody would be that stupid to go to it, you know, if they knew what happened. And
it would have been more realistic for them not to try again.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've lived through 2020. We know how stupid people can be.
Exactly.
And now
there's a good Instagram photo. They're there.
Yeah.
Now I've seen 5 instances of these movies, and I'm still like, I think I would go. Well, some people like get into tiger cages to take selfies and stuff. You don't think people would do that with raptors?
Oh God.
They could, like, ugh. It's kind of depressing now that we're talking about it. Like,
yeah. And you know, the other thing I liked about World was they did do kind of the nostalgic throwback to fans, where they visited some of the old like decrepit visitor center, and you know, they found the old Jeeps in the garage, and I was like, oh, you know, it's nice. I appreciated those throwbacks. I know they were just thrown in there for nostalgia.
Yeah, they're just there for that.
Fan service.
I did feel want to watch the movie when the Indominus Rex is in the lobby. You know, I was doing the Harry Potter meme where it's like, how dare you stand where he stood? Because that end shot with the T-Rex after like saving them from the raptors and just like smashing them into the skeleton. I'm like, oh my God, the banner falls down. It's like, that's like the coolest thing in that ever. Like, because you're so tense, like them barely escaping the raptors for like, you know, 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, like, bam. The T-Rex is the coolest part anyway, and you know, just it comes back. You get to see it one last time. It inadvertently is the hero.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would say like this did bother me when I watched the movie, and this is like the smallest of small things. Is that one guy in like the control center with his Jurassic Park T-shirt? And, like the original park was legit. I'm like, A, you were never there. B, I would have fired him on the spot. I'm like, people died. That is so disrespectful. Yeah. That's what I was thinking during like that original scene with him. I'm like, oh man, I get it, you're being meta or whatever, but I was like, it's weird that part took me out more than like any of the dinosaur stuff, you know.
Yeah, they were talking to the audience, not the people who lived through it. So you gotta stay in the story. You can't pull us out that way. But,
yeah. And I think all that meta stuff and like the intentional nods and its soft rebooting nature, I think I really hurt it in the long run. Like I don't really care to revisit it. But in the moment, I thought it was cool. Not think the same thing for Fallen Kingdom.
No, this was. I feel like this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in the movie theater and didn't walk out. It was just I did not care for it.
I've only walked out of one movie, and that was Dumb and Dumber 2. It's a long story. I knew that movie was going to be bad, but I took my dad. He was so dying to see it. I'm like, it's gonna suck. There's no way it's gonna be good. And it was like, we watched like 15 minutes in and we're like, I can't be here. This is so mind-bogglingly stupid and like bad. I think Fallen Kingdom might have been cool if it did just the escape the exploding island thing or the dinosaurs like in the mansion thing. But I don't think doing both, I think made them both suck.
Yeah. And, I will give it this, the one scene of them pulling away on the boat while the Brachiosaurus is left on the island while it's blowing up is affecting. Like that is an emotional scene. And it's really well done. But other than that, it feels like another generic, just monster movie. And you just don't care about the characters. I can't even like tell you some of their motivations or like what they were doing. It's just, oh my God. It's so bad.
The one sidekick just screaming constantly. I'm like, oh God. Yeah.
The retcon of bringing in like John Hammond's old business partner from nowhere. Just a mess.
Yeah. I don't know. At least I guess it was just to get dinosaurs on the mainland so they can tell the story they really wanted to tell, which is the next movie, Dominion, which should have been out by now, but 2020 being what it was, maybe this summer. I don't know if it's got a date or anything now, but I just remember being really disappointed because I didn't hate Jurassic World, And like the science nerd in me was really annoyed when they were like, we need a blood transfusion for Blue. We can just get it from any theropod. Like, that's not how it works. Even though these are like made up monsters, like, you can't just put from completely different species, from completely different genus and families. Even though they're dinosaurs, it's like, like, I don't know.
I did like the auction scene though, because I also feel like that would be something that would happen where, I'm surprised they didn't just those dinosaurs didn't just get taken away, in the intervening years anyway by rival nations or whatever. But
that stuff would have happened a lot sooner. And B, the thing that was most unrealistic about that scene for me is they were going for so little money. They were going for like $10 million for like an ankylosaur. I'm like, you kidding me?
Yeah.
These things are like one of a kind.
Yeah.
I don't know what people want to do with them, but like, I don't know if I'd want to own an Allosaurus, but like, what are you going to do with it?
Oh, you need like 3 of them?
Yeah, like, just feeding it alone would be insane. I don't know. I guess pharmaceutical companies are going to make medicine out of them. I don't really understand like a lot. Like I can understand like maybe making like a hunting preserve and charging those big game hunters that go to Africa and kill everything. You can go hunt. Like in the second movie, you're like, oh, I can hunt the T-Rex,
right?
As my trophy.
Yeah, and then the ending is so tonally weird too, where the little girl releases them all into the world, into
America,
and like the music is swelling, and like I was sitting in the theater, and I'm like, are we supposed to feel good? I mean, I'm happy the dinosaurs lived, but now they're going to cause untold death.
Because they showed that there's a town not too far away. I'm like, you killed everybody there.
Right. The Velociraptor's like looking out over the town and like, it's like happy music and we roll the credits and I'm like, someone is going to die.
Yeah. Lots of people are going to die.
Lots of someone.
Yeah. It's like, oh, Blue's their friend. It won't hurt them. But it's like, it doesn't care about anyone else. It killed a bunch of people in the first movie. Like, yeah, I think it was like, this is kind of horrifying,
right?
But that might be that's an interesting direction to, if you're going to give us another movie that's at least different. It was dumb. They brought up the human cloning and like nobody's like really that, like everyone's kind of nonplussed about it. I'm like, oh, that's like horrifically like ethically like challenging. But then I guess they do have a dinosaur running around their house trying to murder them. So, you know,
there were other priorities going on.
Yeah. See, that's what I think. Like, if you had one, if they focused on one of the first two movies, because it's like two movies just smashed together.
Yeah.
I think if they focused on one, it would have been better. I have a similar feeling on Thor Ragnarok. Where it's like you pick one lane and like fully explore it versus like kind of shallow diving into two.
You know, where World was a reboot of the first Jurassic Park, it felt like this was trying to be a reboot of The Lost World. With, you know, you had your first sequence where they're in the island and trying to rescue the dinosaurs, and then you had, you know, oops, we brought them back to the mainland. That was a big mistake, and you know they kind of failed on both ends. To do that. So
yeah, I don't know. Are you guys looking forward to the new one?
Just go ahead, K.Lynn. I'm sorry.
No, yeah. I mean, I am, and I'm curious to see if they can make amends. Yeah, I'm always for more dinosaurs. It's just I think they're chasing that first one, trying to, you know, recreate that, and I just don't think they can ever successfully do so. I don't know. I'm curious to see if they can get close to doing it. So yeah, I'll see it for sure.
Yeah, and I'm in it for the characters. I mean, I want to see, especially they're bringing back the original trio and Grant and Ellie and Malcolm, and I know that they hyped up Malcolm being in Forbidden Kingdom or Fallen Kingdom or whatever, and it was essentially a cameo. Like he had like a couple lines of dialogue that were already in the trailer. It wasn't really a big deal. So I'm hoping that that's not the case for this movie. I think that they're supposed to have a more significant role. But you know, I care about those guys, and I want to see what they're up to and how they're going to help, you know, get through this situation. So I'm in it for them.
I'm just into dumb schlock and monsters and dinosaurs. I don't think this is the way they're going to go with it, but like now that they're on the main, like, you know, dinosaurs and humanity are like thrown back into the mix, I kind of want to see like a post-apocalyptic dinosaur like wasteland like kind of movie where like people are just barely surviving. Maybe they have like one really big walled off city. I don't know. I think just go completely wild with it. That last movie like opened the floodgates for stupid, and I think just ride it. I think just fully embrace it, and I don't try to make a good movie. Just make it as fun and exciting.
You want people with spears riding the raptors, right?
I want basically dino riders. Like that's kind of what I was hoping when they were doing like the military thing. Like, oh man, maybe they put like guns and stuff on the Triceratops and people will be riding them into battle. Like all of this really dumb things. I'm like, all right, I like dumb monster movie schlockiness. I'm like, I'm okay with that. I'm so far removed from like the magic of Jurassic Park at this point that like I just don't care. It's an excuse to have a big budget dinosaur like action schlock movie.
Yeah.
So,
True.
So I'm down.
One of you play Ark?
I tried getting into it. I'm not really into like first person games.
Yeah, I missed it too.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. You know, they made their raptors the Jurassic Park raptors. They knew that they were small and had feathers, but they honored Jurassic Park because they're like, oh, our audience will accept the real raptor. So I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, I enjoy it for it being a dumb game and just dinosaurs, and you get to ride the dinosaurs and
nice.
Yeah, build things on the dinosaurs. So yeah, it's.
Oh no, I like so many games that are clearly inspired by Jurassic Park. Like I'm really excited for Prehistoric Kingdom that's coming out.
Oh yeah,
it's basically like a Zoo Tycoon like game, but you know, prehistoric animals. Because it's not just dinosaurs; they also have like, you know, like woolly mammoths and rhinos and stuff, and like saber-toothed cats and things.
How was the Jurassic Park, the game that came out where you were managing the park?
I like Jurassic Park Evolution or Jurassic World Evolution. I streamed the Jurassic Park expansion on the YouTube channel. So if you want to watch that, when watching that, you'll see what the fundamental problem with it, where like the moment to moment gameplay loop is kind of slow. And like, so there's just a lot of just kind of sitting around waiting for stuff to get done. But it's fun to play around with the sandbox and stuff. And now the modding community, now that they've kind of stopped making the game, now the modding community is like run wild with it. And you can have all kinds of crazy things happening. I've seen so much weird stuff now.
Which can make or break the game.
Yeah, but the base game, like, you know, with all of the DLC and stuff, it's like what, like it's like 60 plus dinosaurs. It's like everything that's been on any of the movies. I think almost all of the things that are mentioned in the books. There's stuff from like the various video games. Like basically they touched everything that is in the like the greatest, the big Jurassic Park canon is kind of in it now.
That's cool.
Which is cool, and especially cool that they added the Jurassic Park expansion to it, so you can play with like those assets. And then they added all of the like Velociraptor and T-Rex skins and stuff from that, because that was one of the things that sucked about it, is like the Velociraptor had like no interesting skins. But now you can play every version of it that ever existed, including the ones with like quills and stuff.
That's cool. I when I was younger, there was a Sega CD Jurassic Park game that was really, really cool and very scary. It scared the crap out of me because it was first person perspective, and it was sort of like Doom style. Like you had to kind of go around and collect eggs out of nests and bring them back to the visitor center to incubate them. But they did a really good job of replicating the layout of the island from the first movie. And I think the storyline is you're Grant, but the helicopter crashed at the end of Jurassic Park, killing everyone else on the helicopter except for you. And now you have to go collect these eggs and wait for InGen to come and save you. So it was like, wow, what a terrible day, for poor Dr. Grant. But
I completely forgot about that game.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but I do know what you're talking about.
There's a lot of full motion video because you have like video calls with the narrator of the game telling you like what to do and where to go, and you're on a timer because the rival company Biosyn, they're coming in and they're gonna shoot you if they find you. But
a T-Rex come.
Yeah, so the scary thing about this game is like the dinosaurs are in different areas of the island depending on the time of the day and where you are, and you have to like sneak around them to get their eggs. But if they kill you, the whole screen turns to black and you just listen to how they're killing you. So like you could get gorged, you could get, eaten, and you hear like the bones crunching and stuff. And so as a little kid, like I was freaking out about this game.
Yeah.
Apparently it's just called Jurassic Park. I might be thinking of a different game.
Yeah. Jurassic Park. I don't know if it came out for anything other than the Sega CD, but that was what my dad and I were teaming up to play it, and I think I messed up his save file because I was playing it and I wasn't making any progress, and we ran out of time, so I had to restart it all over again.
Dude, for the NES, like when I got my NES, we just got it out of a newspaper ad. Someone was just selling it in all their games. There's only one game I got after the fact. I begged my parents for Jurassic Park so much. So I guess they were making NES games for a while. The Super Nintendo had already been out for 2 years. But I got that, and it's like such a bad game. I was so disappointed. But I own it, and I still have my original copy from when I was a kid.
Oh, nice.
It's got like a Velociraptor that's barely visible on the cover. And I remember when the Sega Genesis one came out, and you could play as a Velociraptor, and I was like, I have to have this immediately. And I didn't even know about Rampage Edition until we had the store, because I didn't know anyone that had it, growing up. I wish that was the version I had. It's way more fun.
The PlayStation Store has some of the Sega games available. I wonder if one of them. Yeah,
that would be cool.
Yeah, they're bringing them back.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I loved all the like spin-off stories with the canister, the embryos in the Gillette canister, and how that spun off so many different stories. Like there was a Telltale game that used that as like the main narrative focus, and a bunch of other things too. Yeah,
the Telltale game was fun. Well, I know Spielberg said that was originally like going to be the hook for a sequel. He left that in as potential for, to leave the door open potentially for a sequel. Like, like people trying to come back and getting the embryos and all that. But they put a time limit on it. I think it was like 78 hours or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So there was always like a ticking clock on it. I like in the Telltale game, which is specifically about Biosyn hiring someone to go get that. After Nedry doesn't show up, like they have to refill it so that way there's more time. But that game was fun. It's point and click adventure game, so it's not overly exciting, but as far as like gameplay goes, but it's cool.
Hey, get more story.
Get more story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like watching just like a mini animated movie that you're sort of interacting with.
Have either of you played the board game yet? The Ravensburger board game that came out?
I haven't played a new one. I played like the Lost World one back in the day.
There was one that came out a couple of years ago where you you can play as the humans, and then you can also play another player plays as the dinosaurs. And it's one of those sort of unbalanced kind of games where like
asynchronous.
Yes, yeah. And it's really, what's really neat is they give you the characters from the movie, and they all have different attributes depending on who they are, and they tried to match them up with their movie characteristics. But you could be like the kids, and they're not as useful as the scientists in the movie. But also all the dinosaurs had different abilities. But if you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I think it's called like Jurassic Park Danger or something like that. It's a Ravensburger game. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay. I'm gonna write that down actually.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out for that. I hope we can get to the point where we can play video or play board games with each other again.
Right.
That would be nice.
It's not Jurassic Park related, but I just got the Stardew Valley one. I'm like desperate to play it.
Very cool.
Oh, speaking of Jurassic Park and video games, we'll get into this in our next episode because we're going to be looking back at the 1 year of Animal Crossing New Horizons. But my island's Isla Nublar, and I've sort of tried to theme it after Jurassic Park as much as possible. Because as soon as in the trailer I was like, oh, we can put stuff outside, they showed them putting like a dinosaur outside. I was like, all right, that's it. That's what I'm doing. So
that was so much fun.
I'm trying to add as much theme parky stuff as we can. I just started the third house on there so I can have like a resort hotel.
Nice.
They just updated the game today with you can make like custom standees, so your character can walk behind, put their face on it. I'm doing one where your body is a velociraptor, one where you're riding a triceratops. I think I'm gonna have one where like a T-Rex is like eating you, so you can go like, oh no, I have a little photo op area now. Nice. I don't know, it's fun how I can keep finding more ways to incorporate like Jurassic Park elements into it. And then I still have all my Halloween decorations up, so it's not completely, big.
That was so much fun because I remember, Scott, when you were trying to collect your exhibits, and you had skeletons. You had like a running list, and it was like I felt like a real life Alan Grant because I was digging in my game trying to find your fossils for you. Yeah, I was like, "Do you have this? Do you have this?"
Well, it's Animal Crossing, so the first one has to go to Blather, so I have to get 2 of everything.
That was fun.
I'm almost done my museum. I'm only missing like 2 fish, maybe like 10 bugs, but I'm missing like all the art because Red never shows up. But that's a conversation for next week's episode. Gonna have a couple of people on, including someone who's literally streamed that game every day for the past year.
Wow.
Yeah, so I play D&D with him when he has when he's not playing that. So this will be, that'll be a fun conversation. As a teaser for listeners, but I'm sure you guys don't care who's on the panel here. But yeah, I mean, guys, got any other pieces of Jurassic Park we haven't touched on that you wanted to hit up?
Not really. We can talk the whole oh my gosh, what's her name? The kid in Jurassic Park.
Oh, Lex. I forget the actress's name. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When she falls through the air vent and had to CG her
face on there.
Her face on there on the stunt double's body.
Yeah. Because she looked up unexpectedly. Yeah.
Slowed that part down to see the scene. It's beautiful. Like just amazing work.
Yeah. Now that I notice, it's like, oh yeah, that's the body of a full-grown woman.
Yeah.
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 It's so clearly not her.
Yeah. But yeah, just stuff like that. Like, movies before that would just be like, all right, she looks up, we'll just
whatever, go
on with our day. But
it's right there in the middle of the frame.
Yeah, she looks straight up. But
God, I saw that. I had to see that at least 5 times that summer. I must have seen that over the course of my life at least 20 times in theaters because they released it in 3D. We used to do the retro movie nights, and I think we did Jurassic Park like twice. I watched it as many times as we could. Because as much just great as it is at home, it's just something about that movie. It's like a perfect theater movie. Like,
yeah.
I don't think a lot of movies like I need to see them in theaters, but like sometimes there's movies that like really benefit from that. And maybe it's because I burned out my VHS copy watching it like on my old little TV,
Yeah.
I just want to see it huge,
Yeah. I do want to give a shout out to the Universal ride. Definitely if you're in California or Florida, I don't know if Japan has one, but
I think Japan's got it too.
Check it out. The one in Florida though is head and shoulders above the other ones because they built out Jurassic Park land in part of the Islands of Adventure. It's one of the islands, and it has a visitor center with replica skeletons. They do a show in the basement of the visitor center with a live actor that is doing basically the egg birthing sequence with the guests, which is really cool. And they have like a little Triceratops egg or something that it's like a puppet, but they have it interact with the guests. It's really neat. And that's on top of the rides that are there. The river adventure is awesome. And then they're building and about to open the Velocicoaster, which I'm kind of curious about because it's a Jurassic World story, and it's basically taking you through when the motorcycle ride, when they let the Velociraptors out. You are, I think you're either one of the motorcyclists or you're a Velociraptor. I'm not quite sure where the story's going, but they do have they had Chris Pratt come back and reprise his role. They also had Bryce Dallas Howard come back and reprise her role. So there is like a storyline to it. But the coaster looks awesome, and it looks really slick. I don't know if that means the end of the Jurassic Park theming for the Florida area. If that's the case, I'll be really sad because they did change over the one in California. Now it's just all Jurassic World themed, but theirs was much smaller. It was just the ride basically. So
yeah, my understanding that they're all going to be Jurassic World themed, which they're there to promote the movies. That's what the movies are right now. I haven't been to that. Infamously, we talked about it in our theme park podcast last year. I've only been to Universal once I was down in Florida to do a wedding at Disney World. And I was like, you know what? I'm in town. It was Halloween. They were doing Halloween Horror Nights, and Ghostbusters was one of the houses. I was like, I'm going to go there and do this. So I didn't do Islands of Adventure. I was supposed to go last year. And then a disease ravaged the nation.
Oh, what was that?
Still doing it. So
heard about that. No.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's not something a lot of people are talking about, but they had to close up theme parks and stuff. And even though they're like open back up now, like personally, I don't.
Yeah, it's a little
safe going.
A little touchy.
At least not until the vaccines are more available. I don't know how they are with you guys, but it's been really hard to schedule one at the moment. Oh, yeah. But that's something I really want to go there. I really want to ride the ride, but like I'm not a ride guy, which is why I've never been to these parks before. And I know there's a big drop at the end, and I don't want to like a whole ride. I'm going to be like dreading that moment. Like I rode yeah.
Like, they design it. Yeah. They design it on purpose because you can see the drop from the ride, from the line, and so it's coming. The entire ride, you're like, oh my God, is this the drop? Is this the drop? And they play with you, like they know that that it's coming.
Yeah,
I rode Pirates of the Caribbean, and there's a part where it drops like a foot, and I freaked out.
Oh, honey, no.
Yeah. So
there's a T-Rex head that comes out right when you're dropping.
I know, and then you drop. Yeah, I know they changed the story, so it's like during Jurassic Park, like when the Indominus Rex gets out, and that's where the chaos and stuff comes from. But like
it depends on which version you're riding, because the Florida version as of now is still the original story.
Is it still Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
I thought they switched that over too.
No, they haven't put the new animatronics in or anything yet, so it's still the original story.
Maybe I should try to make an effort to get down there this year before that changes. I know a little off topic, but I know we're making plans like whenever they open Nintendo Land to go there.
Yeah,
that just opened in Japan.
Should be good.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
The other cool thing, about the Universal, I'm gonna say this and then I'm done with Universal, but the products that you see in the movie that were, we have lunchboxes and T-shirts and all this stuff. They actually made those real products in that land, because it's not, when you're in the different Islands of Adventure, it's not, Islands of Adventure Park. You're supposed to be like in Jurassic Park if it was a real place, and like everything from the plants that they used in that section to the architecture, it all fits the movie, and it's so cool. They did a really great job with it.
Heck yeah. I miss it. I want to go back.
Yeah.
I miss theme parks. I just miss being out in the world.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, the benefit is you have all this time to work on your comics now, right?
Yay.
You say that's how you had 2 Kickstarters in 2 years,
Yeah, it's been good in that aspect, but Yeah, I mean, I'm missing cons. I'm just missing travel in general, and yeah, hopefully, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel here. So
Yeah. I know last year we talked a little bit about potential future stories for you're going to have a Velociraptor join your party at one point.
right, yeah, he's gonna do the the shotgun. He's gonna be riding around and no,
Yeah.
he's the chief.
Yeah. But yeah.
That's a. It's not. There's not gonna be dinosaurs in my.
Yeah.
No human dino hybrids.
Oh yeah, that was the original Jurassic Park 4. Did you ever see the concept art from it? It's like, oh god,
good.
what a terrible idea.
Oh yeah, that was a long idea that they were trying to make work for a while. Is dinosaur human hybrids.
It's like a big Triceratops man with like a Barrett gun cannon arm.
No.
Yeah.
Right? They're dinosaurs. How much cooler could they be? Why do you have to keep messing with them? Yeah.
Wow. No.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess anyway, I don't know if there's a conclusion to this, but Jurassic Park is a pretty good movie.
If you haven't, what are you doing with your life?
Stands the test of time.
Yeah. Just like dinosaurs. Oh my God, it's all coming together. I know a little bit of Jurassic Park trivia news as well. It's been announced now, but we're opening up a second location. I know internally, Harry, you've been referring to it as Site B.
Isla Sorna, yeah.
Yeah, so...
because it's it's going to be bigger. We're going to have all kinds of stuff to do, and it's just like we have Isla Nublar and now we have Isla Sorna. So
you're just as likely to die in both places.
I was leaving that part out of the ad, but yeah.
Which speaking of, we're looking to get some more pinball machines in there. I know that they had this. When did the new Stern Jurassic Park one come out? Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to play that one. How is it?
So Jurassic Park's had two pinball machines. The first one's based off of the first movie, and it's pretty well liked. It was created by Data East, so it wasn't like a Bally Williams machine. So that kind of like gives it like one demerit, already, because most people like the Bally Williams that created like the Addams Family and stuff like that. But in terms of layout, it's very similar to the Addams Family, and it plays very similarly, where like it's a very mode-based game that takes you through different scenes of the movie. And the really cool feature is it has a Tyrannosaurus Rex head that will come down and eat the ball, and it starts multi-ball. So that was something that you really didn't see in a pinball machine before then, and really we haven't seen too much of that since. So when Stern has the Data East licenses, they decided they would reboot basically the Jurassic Park game, and it's very similar layout, but a few more shots, and plays pretty well. You're trying to save all of the different dinosaurs from their paddocks, and each dinosaur that you save gives you a different feature or scoring bonus to your game. So, and you're building your way up to the Tyrannosaur paddock, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, and I know it pulls dinosaurs from the sequels and stuff too, because isn't Spinosaurus in it?
I think it might be one of the paddocks, which isn't really canon, but
I mean, it's a pinball game. I'm fine.
Yeah, just, but they have a really great
stuff.
Samuel L. Jackson sound alike doing quotes, and they have somebody doing John Hammond, and I think they have Nedry. Wayne Knight is the actor's name, but they have him doing Nedry, and it's a fun game. And a lot of pinball tournament players really like it because it's well balanced and there's a lot of strategy involved. So
yeah, I know that's one of the ones that's like sort of on our radar. Mm-hmm. Maybe one day.
Yeah, and also has a dinosaur that interacts with the ball. Now that's like on the more premium versions, but it's pretty neat to watch a T-Rex eat your pinball and then throw it, across the playfield, which is kind of cool. So
yeah, but it's one of those random like ones where it's like kind of annoying. It's like because the other one like eats it and then it like swallows it because it just goes down them. Mm-hmm. So that just locks your ball for pinball. It's just kind of like how you mentioned Adam Family, like thing coming in, magnetically grabbing your ball, taking it away.
Yeah, so a lot of similarities, but it's a fun machine. Either one. The original is at Starcade in the Hamilton Mall. If you ever wanted to check it out.
Yeah,
it's hard to find a good. Yeah, it's hard to find a good example of it in public. So it's kind of cool that she has one, because that game's almost, I think, 30 plus years old now. So.
Yeah, we're old. Well, it's starting. I don't want to end it on that depressing thought.
Well, play pinball.
We'll never be as old as the dinosaurs, but thank God. But but yeah, I don't know. Unless you guys got anything else you want to do, I think we can start wrapping it up. Thank you guys for joining me. Make sure you check out, the Kickstarter for goodness sake, Volume 3, the penultimate episode. Or not, I guess not penultimate. Penultimate would have been the last one. This is the ultimate episode. For rewards and stuff, you can get all 3 volumes now, right? As like add-ons. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can get the whole thing right then and there. Really great art, really interesting story. I don't know if you want to give us the quick elevator pitch.
Yeah, so main character, his name is Thatcher, and he is cursed. So every time he is rude to somebody, or somebody, someone's scared of him or mad at him, he turns demonic. So it's all how people react to him. So of course he's this full-on demon boy who meets this hippie in a school bus named Rain. And so she's like, well, we can cure the curse by doing good deeds. And so he reluctantly goes along, and they travel the US doing good deeds, trying to break his curse. So for goodness sake.
And if you need to be sold anymore, they have a very nice dog.
Yes, co-pilot.
So, yeah, there's a good boy in it. Yeah, it's great. I love your art style. I'm so glad you could come back for us. What did you describe it as? Gritty Disney?
Yes, gritty Disney.
Yeah. I love that phrase. I've been thinking about it for a year now. I'm like, oh man. That's because we have a comic book store. I've been selling your books, and that's kind of how I pitch your stuff to people. Nice. I think we still have a copy of Hope left. I think that's it. I got to get Plume back in stock. Obviously, you got to get For Goodness Sake. Once you get that finalized and printed, we'll get some copies of that in the store. I'm very excited to carry them. Obviously, we have a second location about to open up. I'm going to need to fill it with books. So we'll talk to you about that after, when we get a little bit closer, which, knock on wood, should be a little sooner than I think we might have been anticipating, which is exciting. Mm-hmm. So lots of good things are happening. Obviously, stay tuned to this podcast. I know last week I said this week we were going to do the Snyder Cut of Justice League. It came out the day before this episode is going out. It's 4 hours long. Not overly excited to watch it to begin with, and I already had the next couple of episodes scheduled. With people's schedules, maybe we'll go back to it. But without having the day one, like, people searching for things, I might not be super interested in revisiting it. But if you want to hear us talk about that, please let me know in the comments of whatever version of this you're listening to. So until next time, be safe out there.